Rawteur, the Lake of Tears scene feels like one of the most crucial reveals, so we'll start there. Jim, or what appears to be Jim, tells Ethan that he needs to find the lake. So, my first question, I'm sure yours was as well, was, what is the Lake of Tears? What we know for certain is that the Lake of Tears was first mentioned in season 1, episode 2. Ethan's leg is impaled, so Ethan, Boyd, Christy, and Jim are trapped in the RV overnight. And when Ethan regains consciousness, he tells Jim that he saw the Lake of Tears in Victor's drawings. He also mentions a spider descending from the ceiling and scaring everyone. There are two important clues here. First, Victor, once again, knows more than he's been revealing. This has been consistent since season 1. Every major piece of information about this place has, in some way, traced back to Victor's drawings, which means whatever the Lake of Tears is, it's not new. It's something that's been a part of this place for a long time. Second, Ethan says the spider came down from the ceiling. Most people focus on the spider itself, especially with the ongoing theories about the kimono lady. But the more grounded detail is the ceiling. That suggests the Lake of Tears isn't out in the open. It's likely underground, within a cave system, or beneath the town entirely. And if that's true, then this changes how we should be thinking about FROMville. Because it wouldn't just be a contained environment on the surface. It would mean there's an entire second layer to this place that no one has fully explored yet. Now, of course, we know about the tunnels, but so far that's just one small sector of what this larger underground place could be. While looking into this, I came across a book called Rawteur Quest, and this is something a lot of people connected back in season 1. In that story, the land is controlled by an oppressive shadow lord, and in order to free the land, stones tied to the Lake of Tears have to be recovered. Now, I'm not saying From is directly adapting that story, but structurally, it seems in line, right? A controlled land, a central location tied to power, and a potential quest that requires specific pieces to break the system. If that parallel holds true, then the Lake of Tears isn't just a random place, it's part of a larger mechanism. And Ethan, being the one who keeps receiving these visions, may not just be a victim of this place. He may be the one meant to navigate it. So with Victor's dad now convincing him to help Ethan, it looks like we're finally moving towards that direction. Not just surviving the town, but actively searching for something that might break it. Meanwhile, Sophia is already demonstrating how easily she can manipulate people, specifically Kenny. I mean, she lures him outside at night, pretends to cry, and he immediately consoles her. Then he tells her exactly what she needs to hear, which is that Boyd holds the town together. And of course, that's not random, that's information gathering. And when Jim is discovered, Kenny doesn't even want to let Sarah take Sophia to get a new pair of glasses. He hesitates, like he already feels responsible for protecting her. Then there's the moment with the ballerina music box, and more importantly, how Sophia looked at Acosta after Acosta told Sarah not to speak to her because they weren't friends. Right after that, Acosta snaps and steals the ambulance. Now, I'm not saying Sophia caused that directly, but what is clear is that she's identifying emotional pressure points and instabilities within the group. She's watching who breaks, who reacts, and who can be influenced. And that raises a bigger question. Is Kenny next on the chopping block? Boyd, on the other hand, is continuing to spiral. He outright threatens Elgin, and that's a major shift for him and his character, because the last time we saw the box used, which is what he's threatening to do to Elgin if the events of his torture gets out, the last time we saw the box used, it was meant to represent order and consequence. Now Boyd is treating it like a tool that he can use when he feels pushed. And that's a real change. Boyd used to be the person holding the town together, as Kenny reminded us recently. But the more pressure he's under, the more he's starting to justify crossing lines. And if he reaches a point where he's willing to use the box again without hesitation, then the town doesn't need to break him anymore. It's already reshaped who he is, as Acosta accused him of. Now, after Jim's body is found in the barn, Julie asks Randall to help her change the story. So they go back to the ruins and she gives him some instructions about what to do when certain things happen. And Julie is able to go back to season 2, episode 9. She sees Jim and she calls him. She says, "Dad." And her plan at that time seems clear. Warn him about how he dies so he can avoid it. So she calls out to him and it appears, you see him look, I'll put the picture up, and it's almost as if he's reacting to her calling, and you kind of get that moment like, oh snap. But when you actually go back to season 2, episode 9, and you look at that scene, what you actually see is that Jim isn't reacting to her voice. Jim is reacting to the music box playing, right? So even though Julie is there, even though she's trying to intervene, nothing actually changes. And that's kind of key to what the man in yellow said, and Ethan echoed, is that she can't really change the story. Whatever happened has already happened. So it's almost as if she's just playing her part, right? Whatever's gonna happen is happening, and she's just part of that story. She's not actually changing anything, if that makes sense. Therefore, if Julie can go back but can't alter what happens, then time and from may not be flexible. It may be fixed, which would mean everything we're watching isn't unfolding in real time. It's part of a loop or a structure that's already been set. The theme of this episode, and possibly the entire season, is knowledge comes at a cost. Those words are painted on the wall, and we're already seeing the effect of that. Tabitha is completely broken. Ethan blames her for Jim's death, and then she tells Jade it should have been him instead. And what I found interesting is how the roles have reversed. Jade at one point was broken and didn't care, and eventually became obsessed with finding answers, pushing further no matter the consequences. Now Tabitha has reached a similar point, but she's collapsing under the pressures of that. And now she's broken and almost feels like, or is presenting the position that she doesn't care anymore, which means that Jade is now in the position of having to pull Tabitha back in to becoming obsessed with finding answers. At the same time, Jade has no choice but to tell Boyd everything he's uncovered so far about the children, Anghkooey, and the idea that himself and Tabitha have been revisiting this place for centuries. And Boyd's response is just as important, because he reveals that, or reminds us that a character in a previous season had a theory that the town pushes back when the residents push too hard. So now you have two competing forces: the need to understand what's happening and the risk that understanding it might make things worse. Victor says as much, right? When he's in the barn and he's talking to his dad and he's like, the town, it takes everything good. You should never have come here. That's what he's echoing as well. Like the more we push, the more things get worse, the more I lose people. And that's what he's afraid of. Every character is being pushed closer to a breaking point, and the closer they get to understanding how this place works, the more it starts pushing back against them. Therefore, this all suggests that the goal is to survive long enough to understand the rules without triggering whatever is controlling the town.